So do stronger athletes perform better? We're lucky enough to have Dr. Haff present for us in Singapore at our Southeast Asia conference. And he made some pretty big comments here. If you're weak and conditioned, you're going to lose. Weakness impedes athletic development, technical skills mastery, and endurance capacity. And stronger athletes are faster, more powerful, and more resistant to injury. Now, some of the physios in here may have a heart attack. Sorry if I upset any physios. I've got some really good physios I work with, and they embrace what we're doing. But strength is really important. And there's a number of studies. I think I'm crossing everyone off the list here. I've got one of Dr. Stone's papers up here, where they looked at Division 1 and 2 NFL players. And Division 1 players obviously stronger than Division 2, so the better performance you have to put out there, the stronger you need to be. Same thing in ice hockey. Same thing with Dan's papers where he looked at state league and NRL players in rugby league. NRL players were stronger than state league players. Duncan French commented this morning about his MMA fighters that the stronger or better fighters were actually stronger. And then Julian Jones, who works with swimming, his recent master's thesis he put out, he said that the higher level swimmers actually had better leg strength than the lower level swimmers. So strength is obviously really important, and that's shown in the research. I just love to get an Arnie picture into my presentations. That's all it's there for. But you get asked quite often by your coaches, well, how strong is strong enough? He can squat 160 kilos. He can bench press 150 kilos. Is that strong enough? And how do we know what is strong enough? So I think that as a strength and conditioning coach, you need to be asking that question is, well, what is strong enough? What do we need to have? So for me, I look at this process of going through benchmarking. So Duncan talked about benchmarking this morning, so everyone's warmed up for the benchmarking side of things. But you have to look at what is a strong and powerful athlete. What does that look like? And what does it look like in your sport? Because you can't say, oh, I've got a rugby player who's really strong in that, we're just going to take those benchmarks and put them into rugby league. Or we're just going to put them into rowing. Okay, we need to look at our sport and define those benchmarks for our sport. And then who sets the standard at the highest level? It's no good, in Australia, we're this island in the middle of the ocean sort of thing. It's no good just looking within Australia. We need to look outside. If we want to be competitive on the international stage, we need to know what other countries are doing. And that's why people like me come to these conferences, to talk to you people, find out what you're doing, get a little bit of information, and then take it back. It's supposed to be a little bit funny that there, guys, but everyone's a tough crowd in here. And then how do your athletes compare at that international level? Are they going to be successful? So, 2012 Olympic Games held down the road here. Anyone know how Australia went? Poorly, yes. Yes, poorly. The standards that we had set for that 2012 Olympic Games, we didn't meet in terms of our medal haul. So the Australian Sports Commission decided that they were going to go with this, what's called the Athletes Winning Edge program. So what they did was said, well, we need to classify all the athletes that receive funding from the Australian Sports Commission. We need to classify them in terms of where they sit on the international stage. So if they're likely to get a medal, gold, silver, bronze, they're at a podium level. And because they're at a podium level, they get a little bit more money. Podium potential, yeah, you're doing well. You could be on the path to getting a medal. You're sort of in that ballpark. Commonwealth level. So, we have the Commonwealth Games. We do really well at Commonwealth Games, but it's a massive step from Commonwealth Games to Olympic level. Then we have developing and emerging. So developing and emerging, if you were in those sort of categories as a sport, generally you didn't get a lot of support. Okay, which seems a bit, arse end up really. We need to be supporting those lower levels, getting them up to where we need to be, but the funding didn't work that way. So at the time when this came out, I was working in Rugby Sevens with the Australian Rugby Sevens program, and my director of performance came around and said, Mitch, for this sports commission thing, we have to come up with all these different performance markers to say, you know, this is where we're at, this is where we need to be competitive at the Olympics. So at the time I oversaw the men's and women's program, so I had to come up with some performance benchmarks.